Hello, welcome back. Thank you again for joining me here. And well, if this is the first time, thank you for joining me for the first time, which actually brings up a very interesting point. Every conversation that we have about spirituality, every YouTube video, every prayer, in fact, every meditation session, every supplication, everything that you do, everything that you practice, it is all so important. And this idea of doing it for the first time, whether it's the 2000th time or indeed the first, is really important. And well, what we mean by this is that there's a concept out there, and you may know it very well, or you may have heard of it, called beginner's mind. A lot of Zen Buddhist students, yoga students, Buddhists, and all kinds of other spiritual traditions talk about this idea of beginner's mind. It's very important. What is this? It's setting our preconceived notions to the side and not assuming that we know it all. We fall into this trap all of the time. I mean, it is habitual. We all do it, thinking, okay, I don't need to hear this conversation here because that's so yesterday. That's so yesterday. And that prevailing attitude is quite clearly very unhelpful on the spiritual path. Because when we assume that we know it all, we block learning, we block it completely. We're not open, we're not receptive to the messages of the Holy Spirit, our inner teacher, part of our mind. We're not open to it. We're not open to the loving guidance of our own inner teacher, self with a capital S, if you want to say it that way. We're not open to it. So we're invited and encouraged to bring what we call a beginner's mind, approaching every conversation as though you've never heard it before, with a blank slate, in other words. Not thinking that you know all of the answers and therefore block your learning, but coming in with this beginner's mind, not assuming that you know better than the Holy Spirit, not assuming that you know better than Jesus, but coming in with a blank slate, as open as possible. And that's what we're referring to here. So, whether you're watching this video series for the first time or the thousandth time, because there are actually over 1,000 videos at this point, the Holy Spirit keeps speaking to us, in other words. So, wherever you happen to find yourself here, welcome. We're going through chapter 21, section 1 of the text, which is entitled The Forgotten Song. And today we take a look at some very beautiful passages of the course. Again, if you would like to follow along, which is always encouraged, chapter 21, section 1 of the text of A Course in Miracles, where Jesus talks about the, well, the unfortunate situation that we find ourselves in as we run amok, thinking we're individual human beings here in the world, encased in this device, as if a semi-permeable membrane, which is actually the largest organ in the physical body, the skin, can contain the Son of God, as if, right, right. It cannot, not even we all recognize this. And so when we limit ourselves here, we limit ourselves, we become so accustomed to these limitations, our supposed limitations, that we argue to keep them. We mistake them for our reality. And I'm talking our economic limitations, the limitations of the physical body, which are profound and many. No matter how fast you are, no matter how strong and ripped you may be, no matter how young and beautiful you may look or feel, this doesn't last. And we argue for our limitations. You hear this quite a bit in the context of the business world and the entrepreneurial world, if you're involved in that, arguing for our own limitations, thinking that, well, this is just the way it is. It's my lot, and this sucks. There's nothing I can do about it. Oh, but there is a lot, which you also know, hey, you wouldn't be here, really. So, as we appear here as individual human beings, thinking we're an ego, which we're not, that's just a mistake. It's just a mistake. As we think we're doing that, we become accustomed to the darkness that we have made. We argue on its behalf, insisting it's reality, and we're afraid to lose what little we've managed through great effort sometimes to accumulate property, possessions, money, even our relationships. We're afraid to lose everything that we hold dear in the world. And we're afraid to do it, even though we're drawn and compelled to do it. We're afraid to do it because we think it's going to be the end of everything that we hold dear. Yet, at the same time, we're drawn to it because we remember who we are. And you know exactly who that is. We all do. This particular section of the text, in very, very beautiful language, which I highly recommend going over again and again and again. I mean, as many times as you feel called to do it, please. Yeah. It's very poignant, very, very powerful indeed. So, what is going on here is we all remember, and this section of the text refers to it as a song, a beautiful melody that's very, very faintly, dimly remembered, and maybe you can't place right now in your mind where you heard it, but you remember how compelling it is. And this may be very faint, but even a very faint recollection of this gorgeous, beautiful, and all encompassing melody is enough to have you right here today on the path. We all remember this. It's what has us here. It is what has us watching this right now. There is always a reason why. Let's face it, there's a lot of content on social media. There are a lot of channels, and most of them have absolutely nothing to do with A Course in Miracles, much less spirituality in general. So here you are, which means quite a bit. It's very important. We're also treated to a very beautiful passage right here in this section about a circle of golden lights beyond this world, beyond the extraordinary limitations of spinning ball of rock and all of the stars and all of the galaxies and solar systems and universes that we can possibly dream up because we dreamed up the one that we appear to inhabit. Beyond all of that, there's this circle of golden light, which is lovely and really familiar. Hmm. And it expands in all directions until it's all there is. This is the vision of the Son of God, whom you know well, don't you? We all do. And if you choose, you're more than welcome to sit with that as long as you like. It's uplifting and very powerful. We know who we are. You know who you are. You have always known. It's this that we recall, this forgotten song. It's who we are, and we know it, and we're drawn to it. We do not want more of the same, yet we've convinced ourselves that we do, so we appear to be in conflict. We're here in the first place with the ability and the inclination to pay attention to this course and our spiritual practice, our spiritual journey. Yet at the same time, we're experiencing a fear to let all of our limitations go. We're afraid we'll lose our job. Well, you might and you might not. I mean, you might not. We're afraid that it's going to be the end of everything we hold dear, yet what we're holding dear, we also want to break free from. So we have a choice right here, right now, in the present moment, to listen to the guidance of our inner teacher and relax and trust his guidance, which is loving, it is certain, and it's very peaceful. It looks right past all of our madness and our illusions that we've made up and wrought here on spinning ball of rock. All of the illusions that we've made, all of the limitations cannot withstand our remembering this forgotten song. They cannot possibly withstand the remembrance of this circle of light that expands to encompass all experience. Our limitations are nothing. against this. In fact, they're nothing at all. They will not withstand it. So we're all invited to lean into this message and relax and trust. And seeing this light in your brother awakens all. There's only perfect oneness. We're all part of that perfect oneness. Why? It's all there is. We're not part of it as individual self sustaining ego survival units. Not that way, but part of the all, capital A. All right. So, as always, I thank you for joining me. And again, this is a very beautiful passage of the text. There are many here throughout A Course in Miracles, but if you wish to be deeply encouraged today, I invite you to take a look at it. Chapter 21, Section 1, The Forgotten Song, because it's not forgotten. It may be mostly forgotten for sure, but it is not forgotten entirely, not even. You're here. Questions are most welcome, as always. Please feel welcome to leave them here or comments as well. I'd love to hear from you. It's an active comment thread, and the more active, the better, because there are plenty of people paying attention. Your questions may greatly impact the trajectory, the journey of somebody on the other side of the world whom you're highly unlikely to ever meet in person. And I'd love to hear from you, even if you just wish to pop in and say hello. So please go ahead and do that. This comment thread is intended to be vibrant and active, and I do check them frequently. So I will catch any and all questions that you may have here. Now, please go ahead and subscribe also if you have not. This is the prompt. It's over here in the corner of your screen. Click that icon. You'll be invited to join us. It's an international community. It's growing. Thank you to those of you who have recently joined us. So please go ahead and click that if you have not yet. And we'll be back because, well, the Holy Spirit is always speaking to us. The call goes out to each and every one of us 24/7. The question, are we listening? All right. Happy listening, and I will see you all again very soon.